Hi, hi, hi. We are live on the YouTube. Welcome to our full moon transit in Gemini. So this is the last transit of the year. And how, well, for me, for the transit. So I'm getting my feedback. Let me fix that real quick. Exciting. Um, so yeah, the 30th, I will not be here for your new moon in the Capricorn on the 30th, but we will refer to it when we do the full moon in January. Okay, so we'll come back to that when we start for next year. If there's anything that you would like me to speak more about, to speak less about, and get to faster about our June key transits, just let me know. I love to change format. So if you don't tell me what you need, I'm just going to keep changing till I hit on something that feels really good for me and my audience. So if there's something I want to make sure I'm not leaving out, just let me know in the comments. Okay. Um, so here we go. And then it'll be exciting for you and me about what I come up with for next year. It is something that I think about I call winter's rest. So if you didn't check that out, you can find that on our Verve and Vision podcast on Buy Me a Coffee. On that page, we did a little bit about winter's rest, what that means. That's when I review my year. That's when I let my thoughts just wander until I'm re-inspired with the energy I need for the new year. And so whatever comes in is what I grab a hold of and I just catch that tail and run. So yeah, so that's what I like to do. It keeps things fresh for me and hopefully for my audience as well as I continue to show up for you guys. So, what all are yummy energies for this full moon in Gemini? We've got the gene key 12, which is vanity as the shadow. The gift is discrimination, which I like to call discernment. I do see that a little differently. And then the city of purity. And so for those who know, I also refer to the quantum human design characteristic of the gate, and that is channel. So that's Karen Curry Parker's definition for that gate. And so I love that. I love that for us because last month, our full moon, the gate name was transmission. How fun is that? So I've encouraged the people that are in our vocal creatrix group that we check out our astrology and plan our months by that. Um, about that to refer to that. What inspiration are you receiving in that transmission from the last full moon, and how are you becoming the channel for that? A pure channel is a good way to put that, but because the city again for Gate 12 in the gene keys is purity, which is City SIDDHI, which is the highest service to the whole, is how I think of the energies definition there. So think of that pure being a pure channel so that we're recognizing our uniqueness, but we're not making it the sole purpose of everything, right? Is the purpose being in the connection and the love and the expression and the recognition of all the beauty around us as well. So I'll get you a little bit more, walk you a little bit more into that as we talk about it. So in the shadow, this energy of vanity is part of it you need to know is like this is a stop codon in the gene key. So that's literally a DNA amino acid collection of a codon that refers to the need to check in to see if you're going to keep going the way you've been going. So if the DNA is going to keep reproducing the way it's been reproducing, or if it needs something different in order to move forward. And in our spirituality evolution piece, it looks like, are we on the right track for self-realization, for being who we came to be, for the ultimate spiritual experience in the human body. So that little bit, are we recognizing that possibility within the stop codon? when we are coming into this energy. So, this energy of vanity. So, what can get in the way of us getting into that highest spiritual place? Vanity may be one of them, right? So, Richard Rudd talks about this as that you essentially, this is a straight quote, vanity can choose the most beautiful words, but it can never hide the frequency of its tone. And this comes from this aspect of the vanity as a larynx feature of the body. It is where we are translating our thoughts into vibration. And so it can look like recognizing the power of the word so that you're creating with your voice and thinking that the power is in that, and then falling in love with having that ability to transmit power. The loving the sound of your own voice is how Richard Rudd puts it in the book. So you in the shadow, you're afraid of losing that power. You're afraid of saying too much or saying the wrong thing, and so it can look like silence, just being quiet, and vanity doesn't have to speak. It can just keep that vision of fear without ever revealing it, right? So it's one of the trickiest things that keep us from that full evolution of spirit human, right? And so that is what causes the shadow to reflect outward into these two forms. So that looks like the repressive side in Gene Keys of elitist. And that means that you're not maybe saying anything, but you are feeling that you are better than people. And in your thoughts and feelings, um, you can have that pride without having to find any confrontation of people like questioning whether you deserve to feel that way about yourself. So it can be insidious because there's no check here, right? It can just keep going in that vein on into forever, right? And so yeah, so that is that kind of, oh, it just keeps going that direction. And the reaction side looks like being malicious. It looks like using that fear and anger as you're communicating, and therefore making other people feel inferior, by that same definition of being better, or showing that they shouldn't be proud of themselves. So you can really effectively hurt people if you show up with a powerful voice and bring other people in question of their own divinity, right? So that's another way this can play out in the shadow range. And what we love about Gene Keys and will always appreciate about this work is that as soon as we recognize that happening in us, with us, around us, we can recognize the potential for that energy to be something different, and bring more creation than hurt, right? Or pain or destruction. So that side of that is what I like to call discernment, and that is that power of turning that to what is worth loving, or what is love, what you find love in, which basically, in my many definitions of love, one of those is recognition and awareness of the beauty of something, right? And so here, Richard Rudd talks about that you turn it to a discerning eye in art, and loving the people and things that are different than yourself, but you still see the beauty in them. So it's this really powerful way of being able to see beauty in your uniqueness, but also in the uniqueness and the beingness of others. And so that's the gift. And that's why I like to call it discernment. That's how I think of art. I don't really think of discrimination as an art thing, but that's just me. And then the city of purity, which is basically that you're most looking for the love, you're most looking for the connection. You're not letting that cloud your judgment of what is beautiful and what is not. And in the highest place, all things are beautiful within the eye, if we can allow ourselves to not judge what is good, what can be seen as good. So Karen Curry Parker talks about this as the channel, in the quantum human design. And the challenge here is honoring yourself enough to share your truth when you decide the time is right. So again, that transmission, that inspiration that you had from the previous month's full moon, are you finding the right time to share that? And the courage to do it, even if you know that you'll be opposed. Now, people are going to oppose what you take pride in, right? So I'm taking that little essence of the gene key to see, how we can get in our own way around these things, right? That's pretty powerful. And then honoring source enough to hold the information as important. So honoring that the transmission was inspired, so therefore of spirit, and that you give it that value and that it can be that potent if we support that, if we stand in the truth of that, regardless of how other people see that. So that's pretty powerful in of itself. Like my people, this is good stuff, right? Like we need this energy, and we have this when the energy is available in our little bodies and our big bodies around the planet, then we get to have a greater sense of that and carry that into our lives, into the rest of our lives, and how much we want that to be present for us is how much we value it, right? And take it with us into what we get to create next. So I got some questions from Karen Curry Parker. She has great questions. So things to contemplate on this energy. What do I need to focus on? And is my physical environment supporting staying focused? So the focal part of that, I think that might be part of what the last one was about. So I'm just going to double check that I have that. I didn't fully copy it over. So that was from the full moon, no, I'm sorry, the new moon for this month. And then this affirmation this time is I am a creative being. My words, self-expression, and creative offerings have the power to change the way people see and understand the world. How powerful is that for all of those of us who are doing our best to show up in this ability to see and act in the world and be a positive influence, right? Influence, positivity, the invitation of a higher possibility, right? So there's so many beautiful things in there. So interesting. I wanted to talk about the three things. So we talk about three things or two, three things at this point. Again, the format may change next year. So if you love them, tell me you love them, and I will give more weight to keeping them in. If not, then I might come up with something completely different. That may not even be what you want anymore. So the three things to let go of. Number one is that you need to be super unique, right? The only one of you. This is a truth that cannot be changed anyways. You are only you, even if somebody has your exact same chart and your exact same favorite color and all, so much of it matches. Maybe they have a similar vision or a mission as you. Nobody can have your exact same story, even if it's somebody within your family, if you're a twin or something like that. No way. It can't happen, right? Because they have their own perspective of everything that's happened in your lives while you're together, and then everything that happens when y'all are not together, right? And Yeah, we can keep going with that, but I'm gonna leave it there. You are unique, so there's no need to like prove it. And then let go of the need to do that to keep proving that you're unique. And that would be to me a good takeaway from this moon. Two, what separates you from others? So is that need to separate yourself as the making others wrong, making others worse or worse off than you, even just making yourself feel better only when you can see yourself as different than others. And that, because that's a slippery slope, and that basically turns into thinking that you're better than other people, right? And that pride, vanity can become something that's insidious. It just eats away at your ability to create and create with others because you're not appreciating them, right? They're not, and they're going to pick up on that eventually, right? So that's how we get into relationships that don't work and partnerships that don't last, right? Number three thing to let go of, the desperate need for recognition. Now, I'm talking to myself in this regard too. I have this key in my chart. I have this channel in my chart, the 1222 channel in the human design body graph. And and it's a real thing, right? Like needing to be different, being giving me solace and just helping me feel like, okay, well, I have, it gives me excuses for the things I can't get right yet, and it gives me a sense of authority and pride, even if other people aren't recognizing me, right? And so that sticky wicket, right? And whenever I feel myself desperately needing somebody to pay attention to me, to listen to me, I check it, I check it because yeah, it's okay to recognize that I want recognition. I'd love to be appreciated for the work that I do and the value that I offer, right? And I don't need it. And as soon as my mind starts to try to convince me that I do, I'm going to question it, right? So that's the difference. And we want to be able to discern. We want to be able to notice when that's happening. And then we can, because then we can find the beauty in recognizing others and then inviting them to the conversation and creating something with them. So this is where I'm getting my 3 content ideas from. They're questions that you can do a deep dive and be like, oh, what is this about my business? How is this true for my business? And how do I make that into content? Ooh, I didn't plug in my microphone, so hopefully I'm not completely unhearable. Just want to double check. Yeah. Yeah, it's showing up. So hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, there we go. So the first question for your content idea is, what beauty do you hope to create more of? This is coming from that idea that any uniqueness is beautiful. And so what are you allowing yourself to jump into more of? So for me, it's people's essence, being able to help them show up their essence in bigger, better ways in their lives through creative projects and business. So the businesses they build. So that is really fun for me. And so, what is that for you? And how can you show that in content, right? Number 2, what's powerful about what inspires you? So this is cool. Now again, we get to honor our uniqueness and the inspiration of how that comes in to us and who we are and who we be, right? So what is that about you? For me, is that voice is a human experience. It's totally like it's like, it's everything to me, right? That voice is a human experience of vibration, and everything's made of vibration. And so it's like the experience of life. That's how it feels to me. And then we always think that life is this great mystery when we have this fully functioning thing that's happening with us all the time. That's why I call the voice perfect, and that there is nothing wrong with anyone's voice, because at minimum, it's speaking the truth of your experience, you know? I can keep going with that, obviously. So what is powerful about that? What are you passionate about, that inspires you? And where do you see the power lying within what you share with people? And then the third question is, what do you create together with your clients that you can't create without them? And so this is really powerful, because I think a lot of times we think, well, they need us, we don't need them. It kind of gives us this perfect way of saying, well, of course they're going to have to pay and have to pay good money. And that gives us an authority to say that that's true. But the reality is that we need each other, right? And the payment is just a way that makes that feasible, right? And then it gives the person that is receiving something new a buy-in. It helps them to anchor their truth that they're committed to bringing something new and creating something new in their lives with you, right? So you don't have to make it more than that. And I think when we do, we put unnecessary levels of responsibility on ourselves that you can really, that can be part of the relationship of how you communicate and how you decide to make sure both are getting what they need, right? That can be a conversation. But a lot of times we make it too big a deal, and then we feel bogged down or like not willing to move forward because we're tied down to that responsibility. And it doesn't have to be that way. All right. So, number 3, what are you creating? For me, It's more art. I can't create as much art as needed in the world. Like we need more art. And then I also have more beauty. Beauty can be art, it can be anything. It can be your presence, your voice, your ideas. So blogging, it can be anything. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? So even your business and more innovative business is one of those things that I hope to create with my clients that I can't create by myself. In order for us to create a network and a business, like in order for us to be able to do the work that we know will flourish in the way that we want in our business, we need other businesses that will support the way we want to do business, right? And we need other people and the clients that can see that the possibilities that lie in that different way of doing business, right? So we need each other. We need each other. That will always be true, and that will never not be true. So we might as well honor it and jump in with both feet instead of being afraid of it and running to the trying to create another reality, right? We've got the one we've got, and then we get to create something new out of that. Um, yeah, I've had a lot of understanding of reaching beyond what is seen this week, and so there's always a possibility of pulling out the things that are not yet seen. But it's again this we get to work in the Play-Doh of the reality in order to do that as well. So I will see you guys in the new year. I hope it is fabulous. In the meantime, I will see you guys later. Ta ta.